Welcome to KB's Unemployed Show. Got a good show lined up for you today. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's show with Piper, my new once-in-a-while news person. She was an absolute blast. I know we are going to have her back. But today, it's a different show. We're going to talk about a few things. Number one, why you should never suggest someone be killed on social media. That's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Number two, why young developers in this city have no respect for the history of the city and how they're screwing it up. And then finally, what I would do if I won one of those huge lotteries, and it comes with a logo. How about that? All that and more when KB's Unemployed Show starts right now.
It's KB's Unemployed Show. He's unemployed and didn't know what to do, so he started a show. Talks about stuff to kill time. He didn't know what to call it, so he called it KB's Unemployed Show.
We're back, KB's Unemployed Show. Welcome, one and all. Gonna have a fun show today. Boy, I got some opinions on some things today, and I even had enough time to put some visual aids together for these. But it's I just want to thank everyone for coming back. Send out a congratulations to my boy Mikey Heller, Mikey Three Putt, who started his new podcast, and so he's out there. All of us from the 97.3 Galaxy of Stars that were I don't know what I'm no longer needed. Maybe I don't know. No longer relevant. I don't even know how to put it. Well, no longer with the defunct station. He and Brian Butch and all starting to show up again. So you can get your fix of game personalities just about anywhere. So congratulations to Mike, of course. Mike is a dear friend and the only guy who gave me the absolute worst beating. The absolute worst beating I've ever had it playing golf. And Butchie was there to see it. We were playing at Erin Hills, for God's sakes. And we were just playing a little match play. And I wasn't playing bad at the time either. And, Erin Hills is a very, very difficult course. And the ball that I used, that I put on the tee on 1, went in the hole on 18. So 18 holes without losing a ball on that course is very I'm gonna say it. It's kind of impressive. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of impressive. And ended up getting beat 7-6. The match was over after the 12th hole. I mean, he just absolutely crushed me. I think he shot 75 that day. And I went and played pretty damn well and just got beaten. So kudos to Mike on the golf course and on his new podcast. Like to thank, for those of you who were here yesterday, I'd like to thank Piper, the news woman, for coming on. Piper is going to be, we're just going to figure out the details. I think she's going to be a regular co-host. We just got to polish it around the edges a little bit. There, I have put my shoe back in. I have to polish it around the edges a little bit and get her to, tighten some things up. But my God, she is such a funny person. She has lived 24 lives in the time that I've lived one. But I think she did a great job. I think she did a very good job. What is that, Ben? Yeah, he's saying that Mike's shows have been pretty good. Mike is a pro. Mikey is a pro, and he's very, very good. That's what made the station great, is that we had all these different unique personalities, but we are all we each had our own little place, except for me. I think I was the oddball. It took people a while to figure out what I was all about. And, and this is going to sound very arrogant because it kind of is, but it's not meant to be. I do recall someone saying that Well, it wasn't somebody. I was just getting hammered by listeners going, "You're an idiot. What the hell do you know? You're a moron." Blah 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 blah. And so the line that I would use is, "Do you know how smart you got to be to come off this dumb?" And that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, yeah, I know, I know what I'm doing. I'm not just ignorant and dumb on purpose, or dumb without knowing I'm dumb. I'm kind of dumb on purpose, although I am dumb about a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, and I prove it every day. Like to update you that there are some developments in the Drew and KB world. Although I am not really at mercy to say, or at liberty, not mercy. I'm not at liberty to say, but there is a good possibility that we will reunite in some way, shape, or form before the snow flies again. If not before the temperature hits 90. So just wanted to let you know. So stay tuned here for all the updates when they become more, when it gets closer. But I mean, there's still a long road to go, but it's, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit because of one of my news stories. In fact, it's my "What color is the sky in your planet" story. Kind of frustrating that the turn of events is, it's what it took. It took the turn that it did with the station. So we're going to get started with some news. As I said, coming up on the, as I said on the show, we're going to talk about a bunch of things. I'm going to talk about what I would do if I won one of those super big lotteries, because I think Mega Powerball or Mega Bucks is around 600 million now. The first thing that I would do, and I have a logo. So you get to see that. I think it's a brilliant idea, but of course I would, because it's mine. And also going to talk about just a few other things. One thing that kind of grinds my beans is while I'm all for development and improvements to things, I'm just seeing some stuff that I'm finding to be very disturbing. And it's because this young generation of developers, these hot shots, these guys that are in their 40s and everything like that and throwing money around, they bug the hell out of me. Not only because they've made it customary to wear like gym shoes with suits, but that's just indicative of the lack of respect that they have for history, and I will tear that apart a little bit later. I bet you not one of those guys has a pair of Allen Edmonds shoes. Allen Edmonds shoes, man, I remember when I started out in business, and when I graduated from college, and so had two suits, probably a blue one and a gray one, right? And had to wear them all the time, and didn't have any money, but the way that you would make it appear as if you had a wide wardrobe is you changed up the ties and the shirts. But it was getting my first pair of Allen Edmonds, and I still have them, and I still wear them. And we're talking 35 years ago, if not more. A pair of Allen Edmonds shoes, a pair of Allen Edmonds dress shoes, that was a rite of passage. And a lot of those people of that age, they don't care about that stuff. And yeah, I sound like an old man. Yeah, I do. Well, I am an old man, but I sound like an old man when I say stuff like that. But there is just something about that, and I personally take it as a sense of some of the things that I've been talking about is a indicative of accomplishment, whether it's personal. And if they want to measure accomplishment a different way, that's fine. But we'll get to that in a second. So here we go. We're going to start off with some news, something that Drew and I have been screaming for years. British Columbia has finally said enough. Enough. This weekend is daylight savings time, or saving, and you've always got some douche who corrects you on that. Daylight savings, it's saving. I don't care. You know what I'm talking about. So I put an S on it. What's the big deal? And I don't even know what the other one is. It's daylight saving, and then I don't know. There's got to be another daylight wasting time. Who knows? But it's going to be daylight saving time this weekend. And that means that we lose an hour, right? We lose an hour. So it's spring forward, fall back. So we're losing an hour. And it really doesn't matter because the sun is out the same amount of time. It's not like the sun has to stay out another hour. But British Columbia just said enough. We're finished with this, and this is going to be the last time they set their clocks. And as soon as they set it to daylight savings time, they went, we're finished. This is it. They're staying here. And they are going to, they said the decision isn't just about clocks. It's about making life easier for families, reducing disruptions for businesses, and supporting a stable economy. That makes all the sense in the world because it gets weird out west. Well, there's two places that it gets weird. Indiana, which I don't even understand what the hell they're doing there, because you've got Indiana, which is all on, they all change their clocks except for like South Bend, and South Bend doesn't. So there's like this one little area. South Bend doesn't change their clocks. The other one is Arizona, and in Phoenix, they don't. So you're either 1 hour or 2 hours behind, depending on what time of the year it is. Now, I personally liked the fact when I had an office in Phoenix that they didn't change the time, because I had a condo of a friend of mine who I would stay at. And eventually, over the course of time, I kind of moved in a bunch of clothes. And then when I gave up the office, I took a lot of them back. He goes, what do you want me to do? I don't care. Throw them out. But I did leave him a couple of pairs of golf shoes in a golf bag. And so he still got that. But anyway, when I would have to go in the summertime, and the summertime is better for doing this, actually, to Phoenix, I could catch the Southwest flight out of Milwaukee at 5:05 a.m. Get up early. I could crash on the plane, and I'd be wheels down in Phoenix about 7:05. Off the plane, knew right where to go to get the car. Would get the car, and I would be able to drive because the condo was right off the 101. I could drive, get off the 101, go to the apartment, go to the condo, shower, had a full change of clothes, and be at my desk in my office at 9 a.m. It was like the most awesome thing in the world. I could get on the plane in the summer in a pair of shorts, a t-shirt, and some shoes, and some, gym shoes. It was incredible. But British Columbia is just saying we're done with it. And I think that we should do this. I think it's just stupid. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't make any difference. Brent says, yeah, I lived out in Phoenix. And you don't need the extra hour of sun when it's 120. No, you don't. I think the hottest, I do recall one day, the hottest it ever was when I got into my car, because I was at a meeting and they did not have like a car park or anywhere. When I got into the car, it was 127 degrees. It is insane. I mean, it's crazy. You have to get a sun shield for the window, otherwise you're toast. You almost have to drive with oven mitts, and that's not an exaggeration, because the steering wheel will get so hot. And don't buy ice cream unless you go shopping with an igloo cooler. And if you're buying milk or anything like that, get home quick. But all that being said, I'll take 110 over 20 below every single day of the week. And I try and explain that to people, and I say, listen, it's very simple. When it's 20 below, you don't go out. You stay in the house. When it's 110, you don't go out. But in the morning, probably from 3 o'clock on, you don't go out. From 3 to about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, you don't go out. But in the morning, it's 85, 90 degrees. You can go out. When it's 20 below, you can't go out at all. It's not like, oh, the mornings are at 20 below and noon it's 40. No, not at all. It's unbearable. And if you do have to go outside in Arizona, you can do it in shorts. That is my line of demarcation right there. This one, a former Twin Peaks server. Now, and the reason that caught my eye is that we don't have any Twin Peaks around here, but they do in Arizona, and I've been to those. It's one of those. It's Twin Peaks, Hooters, Tilted Kilt, those types of things where they have substandard hamburgers, a lot of deep fried potato skins, options that way. You've got your chicken Caesar salad with chicken, blackened chicken for $6 extra. Every menu's exactly the same. And then you get trampy waitresses that dress in something that's generally low cut and very revealing. Well, a former Twin Peaks waitress said, I love this. She says her name is Sasha, and she's at Count Blah Blah on TikTok. And she says a regular started coming in every Sunday morning when she was about 18 or 19 years old and sat in her section and would tip her $100 to $200 every time he came in. And she said, wow, I'm making good tips. This kind of feels normal. Now, me, if I get one guy who's coming in once a week and dropping, well, I wouldn't have one guy, but I'd be just saying, if I was whooping a guy coming in and dropping $100, I don't care what I'm wearing that's revealing $100 to $200. If I'm not a peeler and I'm getting that kind of money, there's an issue. That should be a big red flag. But she said it felt normal, nice enough guy. But over time, the customer's behavior started getting a little bit weird when he started coming in and saying, hey, here are some house renovation plans I've got. Why don't you take a look at that? And then, so she did. And then, oh, that's nice. And he said, I'm putting a menu together for you. Okay, well, there's red flag number 2. I'm putting a menu together. No one has ever put a menu together for me. Well, I mean, obviously you're married and you talk about what you're having for dinner. But if someone said that, who I just see casually where I go, and they said, hey, I'm putting a menu together for you. Well, that was a red flag. She was duly noted. And so she became a little bit wary of this dude. Now it gets disturbing because as the plans were developing, he came in and showed her, hey, here's the dungeon I'm building in my basement. Here's the dungeon I'm building in my basement. And then explicitly said he would drug and kidnap her. And he made it clear it wasn't a joke. So basically, he's grooming her with $150, $200 a Sunday. Is going to make a nice menu for her. But here's the thing that's bothersome. She reported it to management. And so what did management do? Did they banish him from the restaurant? No, they did not. They said, they went up to the guy and said, hey, you can't speak to our servers that way. And then did not ban him, but said, you have to sit in a section that she's not handling. And she would have to be escorted to and from her car while he kept coming in. Now, I don't know if he was ever arrested or ever apprehended anybody. But Marla says, was she on the menu? Yeah, it's like that. Was it Hannibal? Was that the sequel to Silence of the Lambs when Anthony Hopkins is sitting there and what's his name is at Ray Liotta's at the table having dinner. He's got the top of his head cut off and he's frying his brains up tableside. Yeah. No, she wasn't. As far as we know, she was not on the menu. We don't know what happened to the guy. This one, nil. We talk about, and this is the only thing where I can really start talking. I'm going to talk about sports, but I'm not really talking about sports. So I'm going to do a hit and run on this. We've been talking about NIL money, nil, and Michigan said nil schmil. Don't worry about it. Now, when the whole thing came out, my stance was at first and always and still is, they did not think this through. It's like they succumbed to the pressure that we got to pay athletes. I said, this is going to spin out of control, and sure shit, it did, right? Well, anyway, the University of Michigan may have just found a better recruiting tool than money. I'm going to show you this in a second. What they did was they have lured Skylar Fan away from the University of Texas to join their personnel department, and she is going to be overseeing recruiting and personnel and scouting. Now, the Wolverines, of course, are going through a transition right now because they lost their coach, Sharon Moore, who was apparently in a relationship he was married, but in a relationship with someone in the athletic department. It got all messy. Having an affair was not great. But they hired Skylar Fan. Now, let me show you a picture of Skylar. Now, imagine you're a 17-year-old kid and you're trying to decide where you're going to go to school, and they waltz this woman into your kitchen saying, come to Michigan. You look like a Michigan man to me. Go blue. Yeah, that's it. Skylar Fan, she's going to be over. It's like, dear God. She's going to be overseeing the scouting and the recruiting and for students. And it's like, you know what? You come in to my kitchen and start talking Michigan, I'd consider a pay cut. I would consider taking a pay cut. That could tip the scales one way or another. All things considered, how much? 50 grand, 100 grand? I don't know. But yeah, that is something right there that I would come in and, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Brandt. How are you today? I'm here to see Kevin. We'd like to recruit him for the golf team. Did you bring the papers? Where do I sign? So all I can say when I see that is, Chris McIntosh, you're on the clock. Now, if they start that, what you're going to see is just this unleashing of OnlyFans models being signed to athletic departments of D1 schools everywhere. But hey, kudos to Michigan. And you can call me a misogynist all you want, but I was once a 17-year-old young man. Yeah, they're all misogynists. Every last one of them, because they don't know what else to do. So, Mac, what you going to do about this one? Beats sending Luke Fickell for a fireside chat, doesn't it? And finally, I am moving on early. I'm going to do this early, the what color is the sky in your planet story, because it's rare that one of these stories hits so close to home. But this one I cannot brush under the rug. And in a move that could only be described as, what the F were you thinking? Former radio colleague Dan O'Donnell was removed from his position at WISN. I don't know when these people are going to learn. Yeah, it's a right-wing talk radio show. And it's like I was talking about yesterday with people with a camera. I've got a camera. I can walk right up to a bison and nothing's going to happen to me because I've got a camera in front of me. Or I can stand and watch a tornado come at me until it's 250 yards away and nothing's going to happen to me because I have a camera. And it's the same thing with people on the radio. You got to have a little bit of self-awareness, because the next thing you know, you're SOL and you're out the door. And it's either what did you say on the air, but in this case, it wasn't what he said on the air. In this case, he made a post, and he put this post out on social media. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but here we go. This is the post. after they took out the supreme leader in Iran, he posted, "Now take out the supreme leader of Minnesota. We will be greeted as liberators. Death to fraud investigations." Now, I am no HR expert. Don't claim to be, never will be, but I'm pretty sure calling for the death of a politician is going to get you fired. Unless you're Kathy Griffin. Then you can hold up a decapitated head and then just go away for 18 months and then everyone welcomes you back. And it's like, I look at that and I go, wow, I don't care if you did buy the Perplexity Pro AI platform subscription that, can do a lot of stuff with images and photoshopping. But you're a fucking idiot. That is crazy. And hey, I'm no fan of Tim Walz. I think he's a dolt too. And he's just kind of dopey. But as I said a couple weeks ago, I think the only reason that you end up being a politician is you get fired in a regular job inside of a couple of weeks for incompetence. And that's across the board. Hate them all. But a political position aside, this is not a political thing. It's like, Danny, you're just a fucking idiot. What were you thinking? And I'm not defending you, or I'm just going, use your heads, people. My God, we've gotten to this point in life, actually, where people, I don't know when this happened, where people just have absolutely no sense of decorum. They've got no self-awareness, no respect for anything. And I don't know if it's this of its celebrity is intoxicating, or you feel like you're once you get on a good roll, you feel like you're that no one can touch you. And you can just go off and do whatever you want. Well, the answer is, and I think you're finding out, Danny, that you can't do that. Happened, and what's so ironic is he was the guy that led the charge on the air to get our good girl Sammy Cuffle blown out at CBS 58 because she made a post about Elon Musk. And it's like, listen, you know what? It's like they're all scumbags, every last one of them. Just take care of yourself and don't worry about what they're doing. I heard a quote yesterday, and this is, and like I said, I don't want to get political, but, and this is really not political because it's just a fact. And I never heard this before, and it is so true. And it's one thing I think if we all put in the back of our head, we wouldn't get in the back of our mind, we wouldn't get all worked up. 2 words: governments lie. Every one of them, every last one of them. And if you think ours doesn't, you're crazy. All right, take care of yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. And if you all take care of yourself, and everything is going to be fine. There's that trickle up theory. If you're not a total douche waffle, right, and you're nice to other people, people are going to be nice to other people. So it's like, just, I guess what I'm saying here is just fucking stop with this stuff. Just stop with it. It's craziness. Now, in looking at that, when I was talking about AI, I use AI quite a bit. And, as I show here, he puts Tim Walz in this outfit using AI. And that is the wrong way to use AI. That is the wrong way to use AI. You want a good way to use? I'll show you 3 great ways to use AI right now. Okay, you can use AI. Let's say you want to come up with some type of a logo for a Bruce Springsteen musical tribute project that you've been kicking around. There you go, right there, Trouble in the Heartland, which I think is a great name. Now I just got to get someone to do it with me. Ooh, excuse me. Trouble in the Heartland, a tribute to the music of Bruce Springsteen. And it's not like you're a tribute band. It's like you're playing the music. You're not going out trying to act like you're Bruce Springsteen. You're tributing the music, not the guy, right? Um, because I kind of think the guys, people that go out and do tributes and then, get plastic surgery or grow their hair out to look like the guys and stuff like that. That's kind of, in a way, that can be kind of creepy. I mean, I kind of like the music, and I'm not gonna lie. That being such a big Bruce Springsteen fan, that I don't adopt some of his mannerisms on stage. But you do, but I'm not, I'm not going to go out and get hair plugs and a facelift, just so I can go with him through the ages. And if you haven't seen it, look close. He's got a good guy. Guy does great work. But I was watching the Graham Norton show the other day, and so I had it on a high def TV, and I'm like, holy shit, he's got hair plugs. And sure enough, he does. But you can use it for that right there. You can use it for coming up with a logo. Let's say you're just sitting there one day and you're letting your imagination run wild. Here's a great way to use AI. Maybe you want to have Jesus at an open mic night. If you go, wonder what it'd be like with Jesus at an open mic night playing guitars. Well, there he is. He's got a nice little folk guitar there. Jesus singing probably some Dylan songs. Got the old bullet mic in front of him. Got to keep a couple people there, and then a guy in the front. I don't know who he is. Maybe he's some sort of a time traveler, but not at all from that era. Good, right here, good use of AI for fun to let your imagination run wild. Or let's say you're sitting there one day and you go, God, I wonder what it'd be like if there was a priest eating ribs with a hot blonde in a bikini. Right there, you can go bring that to life. Forgive me, Father, for you're going to sin. But having some ribs in a backyard, nice little summertime thing there. There you go, Father. But here's the problem. The chick's eating ribs like a psycho. I mean, who eats ribs like that? Dear God, it's like, honey, 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 don't chew on the bone. That's not the way to go about things here. Not in the least. Ben, yeah, talk about weather. Yeah, talking about the weather. Yeah, Lindsay Slater's departure from Channel 12 is an interesting one. Nobody knows the story on that, and I'm not digging. All I know is that my wife and I are incredibly upset about it. Because we, when I was going to work in the morning, and I still get up with it, we would watch the Channel 12 morning news, and Lindsay was always doing the weather. And Drew and I had Lindsay on the show a couple times, and she's delightful. And we would have had her on more often, except I think she went over and they cut a deal because Steph Sutton is over with Bob and Brian, and then she was over with that building, and so we didn't have access to her anymore. But she was just charming as all get up, and I would be able to sometimes when storms were coming in, or when it was getting when it was getting hot, I'd just shoot her a text. We're gonna get some storms popping, Linz. But in the morning, she was great, and she would. She's younger than me. I didn't mean this in a bad way, but she was like our morning weather mom, right? She just had this ease, and she was comfortable, and she talked to you. She didn't talk to you in weather terms. She would do things like when it was windy, she would have the garbage can scale, like how windy it was going to be. Would it knock over your garbage cans? And I told her one time, I said, hey, when we get rain, you should have a sump pump scale. What are the possibilities, checking your sump pumps. But yeah, her departure is, I can tell you this much, in the Brandt household. And as much as we like young Molly, who's doing the weather over there, and she's not, she's not Lindsay. And Lindsay was in that age sweet spot where she wasn't at the end of her career, and she wasn't in the beginning of her career. She's right in the prime of her career. And that just leaves us with Mark Baden, who is one of my favorite people in the entire world. I love Mark, and hope to play more golf with him this summer. Yeah, Dave, she's eating ribs like a psycho. And everyone knows you eat ribs with a knife and a fork. Absolutely. Now, I will tell you this. I have psycho issues that way, and it's not with ribs. It's with wings. And particularly, okay, first of all, when I eat chicken wings, the people who are real psychos are the ones who just stick the whole wing in their mouth and take everything off the bone, right? Including that, cartilage and crap like that. That is not edible. Wing cartilage is nasty, okay? And on drummies, I will eat drummies with a fork, and I turn the drummie on the fat side down. I rip that off. I do. I eat it with a fork. To me, it's much more pleasurable. And I'm going to do me. I can do whatever I want with wings, and you can't stop me. Now, the flats, I twist and get everything out of there and don't eat them that way. But, yeah. But the ribs with a fork, it depends. I guess it depends on, you have to have ribs that have a little bit of a tug. The only thing I don't like about ribs, but your butcher can do this, they'll take that membrane off the back. That membrane thing is kind of gross. And I kind of don't like that. But if you go to a butcher and buy a rack of ribs, they'll peel that baby off. It's kind of like, I guess the membrane is kind of like when you buy a new piece of electronic equipment and it's got that clear plastic thing that you rip off the screen. And a lot of times you don't even know what's on there for about a year and a half. And you're going, no wonder my TV looked like shit. This thing was on there. But nonetheless, Lindsay is gone, and we are not happy about that. But I mean, Danny, what color's the sky on your planet? Crazy for doing something like that. So going on in the further news, I want to get into something that is kind of, I don't know, it's bothering me. And I saw a news story about downtown near the Deer District. And there's been a couple of shootings down there, but that's not what bothered me. Well, shootings bother me. I'm not like pro shooting. Okay. I'm not. So don't interpret it as this. But when you get to in the Deer District now, where the Bradley Center was, and this really grinds my beans. They built Landmark Live, which is a new 4,000 seat venue right across the street from Miller High Life Theater, which is a great 4,000 seat venue. And they're talking, oh, this is state of the art. It's fantastic, blah, 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 blah. So it's right across the street from Miller Theater, and it's right across the street from historic Turner Hall, which, yes, I will freely admit is kind of a dump inside. But there is character there. And there aren't $14 beers. And I'm sure the venue, I am biased. I will fully admit I am prejudiced about this, and I've never been in there, and that's why I'm speaking out. $14 beers, you got to be kidding me. $14 beers leads me to believe the Bucks owners got some money in this. I don't like Fiserv either. Okay. Now I know Bradley Center got ripped when it first went up for being very sanitary, but Fiserv Forum, you walk around the inside and it looks like a intermodal station in some sort of a Western European country. There is absolutely no charm. And that Landmark Live, I have not been in there, but it doesn't look like every photo that I've seen, everything, while they may have great acoustics and it may have great lighting, there's no vibe, man. You got to have a vibe. Turner Hall has got a great vibe. And right now I want to talk about, and I've seen so many concerts in this town, and if there's a couple people in this town, there's 3 people that pop, or 4 people that really have done, and I mean, there are more, okay? But the ones that come to mind that have done so much for Milwaukee music um, are Bob Babish at Summerfest, Leslie West over at the Rave, um, and so Babish, Leslie West, Peter Jest at Shank Hall, and Gary Witt from the Pabst Theater Group. Now, promoters fight all the time. Peter has got a legendary club on the Lower East Side that I have played many times. It's clubs like that, or Shuba's in Chicago, or the Paradise in Boston. These great clubs, these rock clubs, and yeah, they look like crap. Same thing like the Rave is not in terms of a room as a listening room. It's horrible. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, there's been great acts that have gone through there. You had the Unicorn before in the Sydney High building before it got torn down, which was the grunge capital of the Midwest. You know, bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, when they first started out, they played in the basement of the Sydney High building. But that's got character. Bob Babish, of course, everything that he's done at Summerfest up until this point. And by the way, I have to send great kudos out to Scott Zeal and his people. This may be the strongest Summerfest lineup on the in the amphitheater that I've ever seen. I mean, he pulled Garth Brooks, he pulled Post Malone. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Ed Sheeran. Right there, he's got 3 stadium acts playing a shed. That is amazing. So to Scott, Sarah Pancheri, all the people that I know down at Summerfest and love dearly, wow, you flat out nailed it. And then there's Gary Witt, came in from Chicago, and the Pabst Theater was dead. The Riverside Theater was dead. They weren't being used at all. And I met Gary probably 20 years ago, and Gary loves music more than anyone that I've ever met. Gary knows more about music than anyone I've ever met. He knows more about new and upcoming bands than anyone I've ever met. And over the course of 20 years, he has introduced me. He really changed my love of music in a very positive way by the acts that he brought in, acts that I probably would have never thought of. But the Pabst Theater, what he did with the Pabst and bringing that back to life. And once he got that going, he went and down the street to the Riverside. But that was on its last legs. And he brought that back to life. And it's all because of the love of music that he has. And he brought Turner Hall. Turner Hall there was nothing there. I mean, it was falling down. Now, granted, when you go into Turner Hall, and I played Turner Hall, and it's weird because the stage is at a slope that's like this, and you almost feel like you're going to fall forward into the audience. But the bands and the acts that he brings in there, and one of the secrets, and then he did the Vivarium on the East Side, which is a smaller club. He was doing the room in the back of Collectiva, which I saw Max Weinberg, sang with Max Weinberg on stage there. Saw Joe Ely before he died. Guy's got great taste in music. He's got great bookers, and he loves Milwaukee, and he loves Milwaukee music. So he has done more for Milwaukee music than on a 365 day a year. Those people, Leslie, Peter, Gary Witt, have done more for Milwaukee music. They're not a money grab. They are not a money grab. And Landmark Credit Union is a Live Nation Ticketmaster money grab, plain and simple. And I looked at the prices. I said, maybe I'll go to a show there. And my jaw just about dropped. For a 4,500 seat venue, no, thank you. With $14 beers, are you crazy? And you're going to get all this stuff pounded up your butt about, look at this, it's state of the art. Who cares? I don't care. Turner Hall is not state of the art. But when you're in there, watching Big Head Todd and the Monsters or Toad the Wet Sprocket, performing on that stage, being able to do the tribute show that we did to Keith Pulvermacher, which, by the way, if you want to see one of the most amazing musical things ever, look up Keith Pulvermacher, The Fog, on YouTube, because when Keith passed, and he was just a wonderful, amazing guy, amazing musician, amazing talent. He had put out this album called 45 Story. And when Keith passed, there was a few of us who started talking, and they said, we got to do something for Keith. We have to do something for him. And a couple of us came to the conclusion that what we should do is we should take his album 45 Story, which was written during the time that he realized that he had developed cancer. And these stories are all about him being age 45, 45 Story, and put it together. It's an amazing piece of work. And we said we should do a tribute show for Keith and raise money, but let's play his album and get people to come together and pick a song, and then we'll play his album with his band from start to finish. So I was lucky enough to do a song. Rob Anthony, great musician, did a song. Carvin Walls out of Minneapolis. Keith's whole backup band, Phil Norby, Joe Richter, Willie Porter. I mean, everyone got on board with this. And when he had done this album, there's a song called The Fog, which is just a beautiful piece of music, and he recorded a video for it. But the video that he recorded was only him on acoustic guitar. And they said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Keith's going to do the last song of the night. And they put the video together, and a dark stage with only a light on his hat and his guitar and a stool. But on the video behind was Keith's performance of the song of The Fog on acoustic guitar. And it starts off on acoustic guitar for about 8 bars. And then on the album, the band comes in, and the whole band accompanied him as he played on the big screen. There was not a dry eye in the place. Gary Witt, part of donating the hall for that night for this tribute. It was the night before Thanksgiving, when everybody goes Whiskey Wednesday, when people go somewhere else. Sold out. So that's a testament to not only Keith, but it's that venue. And now you see this money grab coming in right across the street. And I know what these guys do. They overpay for acts because they've got to fill their venue, and they pass the expenses onto you. So once again, we're just getting it stuffed up our ass by the big corporate thing. And I have literally no love lost for the Bucks ownership, because that team is a train wreck, and they're going to jack up ticket prices another 25 or 30%. It's like, why are you giving me a substandard product? And then you're going to keep jacking up money. Even so, people talk about the Deer District. It's great for when there's games going on, but nobody goes down there. It's the most sanitized and just nondescript place in the city. I mean, Milwaukee is a cool old city, and we've got cool places. And that's what gets me the part about this developers that drives me crazy. And I'm going to use a example of this. When I was about 26 years old, and this is nothing that I haven't made public before. In fact, I put it in writing. When I was about 26 years old, I worked for a guy, and we used to have our monthly meetings at the Milwaukee Athletic Club. And maybe I was young, impressionable, but it was you had the Milwaukee Athletic Club, and then across the street was Grenadiers, a great Newt Appett's a great chef, legendary chef in Milwaukee. And it was just, when you're 26 years old and you're just starting out and you just got your first pair of Allen Edmonds, to be able to go to the Milwaukee Athletic Club once a month for these meetings was, with a valet and everything. And it was so cool. to me. And it was one of those things where I said, one of these days, there we go. I just kind of lost that. I don't know why. So one of these days, I'm going to be a member there. And it was a long road. And probably about 10 years, I was able to join. And if you've been in there, I mean, it was like an old dining room that had, old wallpaper with like topless women on it, Baroque women. I mean, it was just old, and it was mahogany, and it was walnut. And they had a bar called the Elephant Room that was elephants all over the place. It was an athletic club. The men's locker room had old blue steel lockers that like were high school lockers. But when I got my name on there on a locker, and then 2 down from me was Don Smiley from Summerfest, and Dr. Corky behind me over there, Peter Helf, Ted Kellner. Okay, you kind of got this feeling. It's like, wow, I kind of made it. This is really, and I loved going there. You could sit around. If you went, they had a pool that was right adjacent to the men's locker room. It was only the men's pool, but you would have a salad every lunch. There was a salad bar, and you could get sandwiches there, and you could sit there with champions of industry that you would never be next to. And they'd sit down on the table and have a salad, or a sandwich or a cup of soup. It was fantastic. Well, I mean, the building fell into disrepair. And so, they were looking to get someone to buy it and to renovate it. And they did. I don't even know the guy's name, but young guy. Now, when you pay a couple $100 a month for a membership, you expect some perks, right? Well, you could free parking. You'd have to pay for valets, but they had a shuttle service. So, and they had this bar on the first floor called Max that was just unbelievable. And if you were going to an Admirals game or going to a Bucks game, you could go down there, go to Max, and they take you over in the shuttle. They had 6. It was a hotel, which a lot of people didn't know. They had 6 floors of flop rooms, basically old hotel rooms, but they were only $79 a night. And so if you went downtown on a heater, zip over to the Milwaukee Athletic Club, it's going to cost you $80, but it's not going to cost you $20,000 in your driver's license. Right. In fact, my son, when he came home from college, he had my number to the club. And I said, if you're going downtown drinking, just go to the MAC. There's my number. I'll let them know. You stay there. Now, you're going to pay me back, but I don't want you driving. And he would go down there and boom, get a room, stay overnight. But then he'd have like the shuttle, and they do it, take him down to Brady Street, come pick me up. I mean, that's what you're paying for, right? And like I said, the locker room had a locker room attendant. The furniture was beat up and everything like that, but it had style, it had class. So they get a guy who's going to come in and he's going to redo it. And you're thinking, oh, this is going to be great. This will be excellent. Well, and I'm not going to get into the financial things, but they did a bait and switch. The developer did. And it kind of pissed me off. And then COVID hit. Now, they said that they would hold your rate if you stayed through COVID. Now, I love this place. Still do, as a matter of fact. Well, not now, but this was my sense of accomplishment. So I stayed through COVID. They had an alternate space. My wife and I would go down there and have dinner, and they always had great food, right? And finally, it took about 2.5 years, I think it was, for them to remodel it. And here we go, grand opening. This is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to see what they did to this. But the developer, 45 years old. And They took one of the most historic athletic clubs in the country and turned it into a fucking elite fitness. Drew used to joke about the workout area for the men was a workout equipment museum. It was so old, and it was horrible, but you weren't going there to work out. Now they've got all this state-of-the-art stuff and these trainers and these muscle heads that are, dropping free weights all over the place. And it's like, man, oh man, what did you do? And the worst part was the locker room. You wouldn't, if you walked into this locker room and you used to have locker room attendants, that's where I fell in love with the smell of Club Man, right? You had an old right guard in the bronze cans. None of that is there anymore. The sitting area where you would sit around with people and you would watch NCAA games, and they had a refrigerator with beers. It looks like it's a break room. They said, well, we have an area for the members, which look okay. Well, you had no salad bar anymore by the pool. Okay. And they took a lounge in the second floor and they turned it into a lounge, which really looks like it's the student commons at a community college. And it was a developer who's in his mid 40s who sucked all the life out of this place. And it was heartbreaking. And then bit by bit, they started chipping away. Next thing you know, there weren't any valets. And then it was, okay, the parking garage that was right there, if you were an MAC member, you could park for free. Then you went in there and you parked for free, and you just had to say, hey, I'm parked in the ramp. Well, then it was only parked for free for 2 hours. Then next thing you know, it's discounted parking. And I was getting more and more pissed off. I'm like, why am I even going there? So I did some background checking on the guy and the developer. And I'll be damned if he doesn't own the fucking parking ramp right next to the MAC. I went, there you are. There you are. And so now you've got a sanitized, nondescript, elite fitness that they're dinging people $500 and upwards a month for with marginal food. I would say even overpriced average food. And so it's real sad. But these young developers, they do stuff like that. They come in and they take all the life out of things. And I don't think, and it's happened to me, I watched it happen at a country club that I belonged to for a while, is that what they do is they get new ownership that comes in, and all they want is the money and the cash flow. Now, I'm not a snob, and by any reason, by any stretch of the imagination that way. I'm a dumpy guy. My wife and I are elbows on the bar people, right? We're not country club people. We would not go to galas or any of the things like that. But I just like to play golf and, with someone who's not dragging an igloo cooler around, in cut off jean shorts, and something that's nicely manicured. That's all I care about. Right. And, but I've seen them do this at country clubs where all of a sudden they just bring all these people in because they need the cash flow, and no one's got skin in the game. And it's just, all you have to do to get in is write a check. You don't need a letter of recommendation anymore. When you needed a letter of recommendation, you could keep some douchebags out, but you can't do that. Here we go. James, the YMCA locker room was just renovated. It has become super sterile and institutional. Yeah, that's the thing, is that they see it as being new, so it's great. And it's not. Old is great. New is not great. And no, I don't have the kind of coin that I could end up going to Milwaukee Country Club, in that locker room, which is like that, but it's over their dead body that would ever get changed. Right? I mean, I don't have money, much less old money, but there's something about that feeling of being at a place like that. And the young guys just suck all the life out of it. Which brings me to the last two things I want to talk about. I'm not going to. First thing I want to let you know is there's not going to be a show tomorrow, but we're moving it to Friday. And Friday, the show will be an Oscars preview show with Matt Miller, a man about film. He will be on. And I think we're having Piper back because she is a film minor and she has seen over more than 300 movies last year. So if we can get her to come on, I'm just going to put her and Matt on and let them go and get the hell out of the way. But no show tomorrow, a show on Friday. But that gets me to the two things I wanted to talk about. And one of which is I'm going to go back to the Deer District and how they turned that whole area down there into just a big cement jungle. And, it's, oh, look at the development, look at the new. And it's like, no. And I've hated the name the Deer District since day one. Can't stand it. I don't even like going down there. I hate the bars. The bars there's just no character. There's no vibe. It's all, it's all very geometric. It's, and any type of vibe is manufactured, right? It's like the original Pat O'Brien's on Bourbon Street was great. But when you can get a Hurricane anywhere now, or a Fat Tuesdays, Fat Tuesdays, it's the, freaking Applebee's of New Orleans bars. I mean, there's no vibe there. And in the Deer District, it's just it's the same thing. I don't know anyone even goes down there. Like if it's a Wednesday and there's not a game, and no one says, hey, let's go down to the Deer District. You go to St. Louis and Ballpark Village right next to Busch is incredible. It's always packed, but it's got a cool feel to it, right? But I've always wanted to do this, and this goes back to, I think, right when the Deer District opened, which I'm not sure was it 16, was right around. It was only up, and they finally started calling it the Deer District was when Drew and I first started doing the show. I don't remember who it was, but he called into the show and he said, I had made the comment, I hate the Deer District. I just thought that, to me, that seemed forced. Deer District. It was just forced. There was nothing cool about it. And he spit out a name that I latched onto. And as I was thinking about it, and then I saw that these lotteries are getting like absolutely huge. And I said, you know what? If I win the lottery, I am going to go down. I'm going to march down to that office down there, wherever they are now. And I'm going to throw, let's say I clear, it's one of those $2 billion ones, and I cleared 700 million. I'm going to walk down there. I'm going to throw 60 million in cash. And I'm going to say, I want to buy the naming rights. I want to buy the naming rights to this area. And I'm almost dead. And that's a whole ton of money, right? I'm not going to use it all. So I might as well blow a big wad of it. And I said, I'm going to go down there. I am going to buy the naming rights. And I am changing the name to Antler Town. I don't know who the listener was that came up with that. I fell in love with it immediately. I was thinking it would be KB's Antler Town, but Antler Town is so much cooler. Antler Town sounds like a neighborhood, right? Buckhead, Bucktown in Chicago, right? Streeterville, Antler Town, 60 million. My dying, on my deathbed, I'll throw that money right there. 60 million. I want to see Antler Town before I go belly up. Absolutely, I do. So let's get a rally behind it, Antler Town. Oh, and then here's the other thing that's got me chapping my ass too about this whole thing is they want to take down the Mecca and they want to take down the Milwaukee Arena or the Miller High Life Theater. Why? Because it's going to cut into their revenue at that Landmark Live. And I know they're trying to, if you hear about this, get on board with this. They're trying to turn it into a historical landmark, which they should. Mecca for me, when I moved down here in the 80s, do you know how many Bucks games I saw with Sidney Moncrief and Nelly when he was the coach down there, and Terry Cummings and Jack Sikma, Randy Brewer. I saw Doc Rivers hit the game winner against Notre Dame when he hit the 50-plus foot shot as time expired. There were so many things that I saw down in the Mecca that were just fantastic. There's so many memories. The South Bar at the Mecca, when the Bucks games were going on, and this is something these young guys wouldn't know, half the city of Milwaukee was built at that South Bar. You would go into this, and you would go into a game, and you would go out at halftime, and I can't even tell you how many times it happened. I would go out at halftime, start throwing it back a couple of pops with people around the South Bar. The next thing you know, the game is emptying out. So many deals were cut down in that corner of the place. And now they want to tear it down. They want to make a hotel because we need more hotels for the convention center. It's like, no, you know what? There's a lot of other places that are around that you could put hotels in. You know, you tear down the Mecca and you put a fucking hotel up that's just like every other hotel in the world. It's going to be, yeah, it'll get used, but there's no freaking character. It's like it's like the freaking hop. It's, you know, the trolley. We didn't need a fucking trolley. Why do we need a trolley? We got a trolley that goes nowhere. They did a story in Milwaukee on Milwaukee.com where they had the time it would take to get from point A to B on the trolley, the time it would get walking, and the time it would be hailing a cab, which you could never do in this city at the time. And you can't do it now because everyone's got Uber. But before, Milwaukee was like the worst cab city in the world. And they ran a test, and it was quicker to walk than getting on the hop. So that's like, we got to move forward. We don't have to move forward. We have to move in the correct direction. And sometimes in the correct direction, it's leaving the cool stuff alone. Ben says, without the Mecca, where would the Admirals play? They wouldn't. They're done. 70 years of hockey tradition in Milwaukee. Done. They wouldn't play anywhere. There's nowhere else for them to play. People go, could they play at the Fiserv? No. First of all, they're not going to play at Fiserv because Fiserv, I was there for the Wisconsin hockey showdown, and it is just a god-awful arena for hockey. It's terrible. On the end seats in the behind the goals, there's no seats. Those are the best seats. Those are the big money seats in a hockey arena. Down low in the corners, there are no seats down low in the corners. And I am sure that the Bucks ownership group would absolutely stuff it all the way up with a red hot poker for rent. And the rate they would take off would be make it not feasible economically. So that is that's my take on the direction of the city. And here, note to self: don't ever go out on social media and call for someone's death. It's going to backfire on you. I'm just saying that. And then one last thing that I learned, and I used to do this in my classes, and then Miss Piper did it yesterday. Piper, the newswoman, did it yesterday when she dropped some knowledge on us that I had no idea, when she said, you know, the woolly mammoth was still alive and roaming the earth when they were building the Great Pyramids. I had no idea. And that's mind-boggling. That is absolutely mind-boggling. And what I did for a while with classes, and I'm going to go back to do this, at the end of every class, I would give them a fun fact of the day. And my reasoning behind it was, you will learn something in every single class this semester. And the point was, no one remembers anything in a lecture. But if I give them a fact, they're going to remember something. So I used to conclude every single class with a fun fact. And like I dropped one on Piper yesterday, that chainsaws were originally created for childbirth. I didn't. It's true. Look it up. I didn't dive deep into it, but I'm going to take the word for it. So I'm still going to do top fives. But what I'm going to also do is, if I'm not doing a top five, I'm going to give you guys a fun fact of the day that you have to remember. So today, as we close the show, my fun fact of the day that you can take with you. And as I said, you may not remember anything that I said up until this point, but I guarantee you will remember this and my fun facts. Today's fun fact: octopuses have 3 hearts, and 2 of them stop pumping when the octopus swims. So there you go. There's your fun fact of the day. And those fun facts are meant for one thing. If you're at a cocktail party, you want to get out of a conversation or something like that, drop that piece of knowledge on someone and say, I got to go get another drink. And they'll just sit there and go, what? And then you are off and free and clear. So like to remind you again, it will be no show tomorrow on Thursday, but I will be back on Friday with Matt Miller, Mad About Film, maybe Piper, and an Oscars preview show. Until then, make good